Mostly movies. I have the AMC pass, so I go there way too much.
Oh,
Gives
yeah?
them way too much of my time. I'm trying to get my girlfriend into Twin Peaks, which is, as we all know,
Amazing.
the greatest thing anyone's
Yeah.
ever made. So I'm probably that's a good like fall show. So I'm probably about to be fully entrenched in. Of any like, there's so much stuff like, they bring back after like years. Like this was
Yeah.
beloved. They bring back for years and years and years. And Twin Peaks is literally the only one that's been good.
Right.
That they brought back after like 27 years, I think, and it's
Epic.
the best.
Still, I gotta find that.
It's just
I'm
the
gonna
best,
watch it.
unlike anything else. Episode 8 of season 3 of Twin Peaks is the best hour of movie television anyone's ever made.
I actually just hopped on the Better Call Saul train, so I'm almost through season 2. A lot of it's been spoiled for me, obviously, because I'm a little behind, but loving it. It's one of those shows that just like it's sort of in a weird way like an opposite of Breaking Bad. I don't want to say too much. People haven't watched it, but it's just one of those shows that you think you have it figured out, and then it just cuts something through a character, and you're just like, oh, there's like so much more there that I didn't even see. So when we first met in college and we were writing things, are we allowed to swear on this?
Sure.
We were shitheads.
Yeah.
we were jerks.
We were kind of jerks.
We were just stupid, and a lot of people like, or actually our screenwriting professor said like, you guys are acting like Matt Stone and Trey Parker, but you're not there yet. And we were like, oh, thank you. We took it as like a compliment, even though we weren't really aiming for South Park. But,
Yeah.
I just always found that funny is that they associated us with that just because we were
Yeah.
Very much.
yeah, we took it as a compliment when she was
Yeah.
just like, you need to chill on the ego stuff. But we were like, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not. I haven't watched South Park in a really long time, but I don't. I think just that type of thing. At this point, it's doing your own thing. I mean, they've been doing it for like 30 years. But if you
Yeah.
look at someone like in the movies, like someone we love is like Ari Aster, who manages to make his own stuff, or Robert Eggers, or like Greta Gerwig, who did like Lady Bird, which is just. I don't know, anything original you can just do, without having to have like an IP attached or having it based on a toy.
Amen.
yeah.
We love.
Yeah. No, I mean, personally, I love, always loved Tina Fey. Big fan of Joe Pera right now. I haven't started Rami season 3, but I'm going to hop on that probably tonight. I think it's out now. So, yeah.
And one more, it's a movie I rewatched recently by a director named Nick Bravo called Zola.
Mm-hmm.
Which do you know this movie, Zola?
No, tell me. I feel
It's-
like I do, but I'll
it's-
probably butcher it.
It's about two sex workers who go on a
Right. Is it the Twitter?
It's based
from
on a
the-
Twitter. It's
yes.
based on a Twitter thread. And I thought I was a little hesitant about it, but it's like this weird. It felt very modern to me in the sense of it's like it is like its own original thing. It's based on a Twitter thread, but it's kind of like this intertextual thing where it like relies on you knowing this thing in society, but then or in culture, I mean, and then expands on it greatly, and it's just
Faith-based film.
but it's so it has this weird kind of metatextual essence to it, and then it's also just an incredibly tense, tightly made thriller. Yeah, I mean, there's a really tense sequences, and that's something I rewatched recently, and I was like, oh, like why does no one talk about this?
Right.
This movie's great.
Yeah, we can think too. We're both real big Sean Baker fans.
Mhm.
We'll defend Sean Baker to the death. We met in a class taught by an actor. I guess we won't say his name, but
I don't need to. It's by a relatively well-known actor.
yeah.
And it was like it was a big, it was called transmedia storytelling, which if you don't know what that means, we don't either. No one knows what it means to this day.
And after 2 semesters of
After
the
two
class,
after 2 semesters, we knew even less than we did on the first day. But we were both put in like the writing team. There was writing, there was directing, there was producing, there was every facet of entertainment. We were put on the writing team, and we really just kind of
hijacked and derailed the whole thing.
Yeah.
So-
And then eventually, we got so frustrated with like having to write with like the parameters of this, this is this class, and we thought we should just write our own stuff. And that's kind of how
Did
it
you guys
started.
hit it off right away, or did you kind of have like butt heads and then realize, well, we actually
Pretty much
have-
right away.
I don't know the moment, like, if there was like a singular
Well,
moment.
we'd
I think-
actually met a couple. We had a class together like a couple years before, so it wasn't like a very first time we met each other first day.
Mhm.
So I think we had like a little bit of familiarity with each other,
Mhm.
but I think we just both were just, visibly, clearly the most frustrated. And I don't know. We
and
just
the bond formed.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and then it really solidified. We had an assignment to write something, and they only gave us like a weekend to do it. So we both volunteered. We're like, hey, like we told the other writers, hey, we'll just like knock out a first draft overnight. So we spent like a whole night writing this like, what was it, 50-page thing? Probably came out like
Yeah.
50-page thing.
Wow.
And then the next day, I remember we went and saw Interstellar, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, in college it's tricky. I think the reason we really hit it off is because in college it's difficult because, like, in theory everyone's paying tuition, so everyone should get a fair shot. Everyone should have like an equal contribution to something. But obviously, like, some people just don't care and they just don't show up to things. And not that like nobody cared in that class, but I think we were just really passionate about it. And we actually wanted to do good work.
Yeah.
So we were willing to stay up all night and
Mhm.
knock this thing out because we thought it was a fun challenge too. So.
Yeah. And we laughed at what we wrote. We thought it was funny.
At 4 a.m. it was really funny.
Yeah.
It was really, really funny.
I'd love to go and read that now. I bet there's still good stuff. I bet there's like good stuff in there, but it's probably all.
We do TV comedies, usually darker comedies, adult comedies. During COVID, we pretty heavily pivoted towards animation, since that was like the really hot thing. We actually tweaked a few scripts to be more animation friendly. But how many? We usually have. I mean, we try to keep the healthy, like 3 really good samples on hand at all times.
Mhm.
There are some that are stronger than others, some that we would replace, but that's
Some
the
that just
general rule.
don't work.
Yeah.
When I call Carlos at like 2 a.m., I'm like, I'm quitting.
I gotta talk about full edge
It's
like
over.
once a week. Yeah. Next year's definitely getting staffed.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the number one goal.
Yeah, I think obviously like anyone wants to be like a showrunner at some
Mhm.
point, or do their own thing at some point, or whatever. Whether it's showrun a show, direct a movie, whatever. But I think I don't know. We're very like I don't know. Our we're very just focused on like the steps to it. So like thinking about being a showrunner for me is I'll do that once I get staffed.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean.
We think in increments for sure.
Yeah, that's a much more succinct way of putting it.
So get staffed is the goal for next year. And what are you guys doing now in order to achieve that goal in a year? Or in the next, year or so?
Writing things that I hate is a big one.
We're just, we're refining samples,
Yeah.
At the same time trying to realize like when something's done and setting it aside,
Mhm.
and putting new stuff out there. I think we've gotten into a good groove of figuring out our process and how we work together.
Mhm.
So that's at least, behind us.
Yeah, I think focusing on, like the last couple we've done have been live action rather than because we spent all that time doing animated, and focusing on things that go beyond just a sample. Like we've written a couple things that are just can never be made, but like this is like just fun to read. It's good. You know what I mean? Now we're kind of pivoting into like really like sitting down and making sure this is something someone would read and think it's good, and also like this is feasible. This is
Right.
this is makeable and marketable.
Yeah, we worked definitely in the past couple of years a lot more on like developing the concepts a
Yeah.
lot more, because we've often been asked the dreaded question like, where do you see this going?
Yeah,
And
where's
we wanna
episode 2?
We want to be ready for that. So.
Yeah.
Good question.
What do you think?
Yeah, and I think that's good because we have like those type of things with a huge plan, and then we also have samples that are just like this is a fun thing to read. This is like the
Sort of a stunt script sometimes.
the stunt script kind of has like a negative connotation to it, but just like something that's like like these guys, like I want to see what else these guys have. Yeah, I mean this will like stand out a lot more.
I think what we really struggled doing is we both have really, really dark senses of humor. I don't think there's anything Michael could ever say to me that would offend me, or vice versa. But I think what we struggled finding is like, okay, we want to put in these dark jokes and these dark themes, but there has to be a reason for living somewhere inside the script, right? It can't just be all nihilistic, everything's awful, because that's not fun. And what's the point? It's easy too. It's lazy.
Yeah.
So that's been our big, I think, thing, is finding the humanity in all of it.
Yeah, we're not even like, that's not even to say we're like these big like edgelords or anything.
Well, that's what we're
like
trying to avoid being.
Yeah, we're trying to trying to be like, ooh, like, oh,
Everything's
you're triggered, you're offended by this. It's like, it's just like, I do a lot of like live comedy. I can promote my comedy show, but I won't because I have too much respect for this institution. But in comedy, it's like, if I ever hear, people won't laugh at anything, you can't joke about anything, it's just, oh, you're not funny. You know what I mean? Anything can be funny. It's just certain dark subject matters are harder to make funny. You know what I mean? And that's a tightrope you walk if you don't make it funny. If it's not funny, it's offensive. It's like that simple. So I don't mean to go off my soapbox about edgy comedy, but that's kind of like, that's there are some subjects that from my experience or my perspective, I know I can never make funny, so I'm not going to try on those certain subjects.
Right.
It was that night we had to write, it was for this class, we were writing that script. We had no parameters or whatever. We had nothing.
Yeah, they're just like, write a story.
Just write a story.
Yeah.
We were like, okay.
Wow.
And then we wrote the wrong one.
Then we wrote the wrong one, and then we said, oh, not this. And then we brought another one. They said, not this either. And then, regardless.
Tough.
Yeah. But I think we ended up writing a script. The premise of the script was like about a multimedia company and about like the people that followed it. And then we wrote this villain character who was this like kind of outdoorsman survivalist who wanted to like destroy this company.
It was Michael, really.
And then as we were writing it that night, we noticed all his scenes got longer and longer and longer, and all the scenes in between got shorter and shorter and shorter, to the point where like the entire third act was just about him.
And then the class, when they read it, they were like,
"There's way too much of this guy.
There's way too much of this guy." And then we just kept putting
more in. Yeah,
like, this guy's the star of it. This is the funny
and then
part.
we thought, oh, like this is we have like a very similar wavelength, and like, oh, we have a very similar like sense of humor, and it was kind of like, we'll do our own thing. It was kind of also the thing we brought the script into the class, and they like an hour straight of like them just like hating on it. And
someone
like,
cried too.
Oh, they were so offended or something?
No, it wasn't they were offended. It was like it was that like, I mean, the script's really stupid. Again, it was written one night by like two college students.
Yeah,
I think
they were
master
bummed. Students.
They were master students. They were bummed like they committed to a whole year of this class. Like this is what I'm working on. It was more that type of thing than it was like, because none of it was like insanely.
No, it wasn't like offensive or anything.
Yeah, nothing was like insanely offensive or anything like that. It was just more like, oh, like I'm gonna waste a whole year on these like two just dumb dipshits, stupid script.
Michael touched on it earlier, and I've said this to Michael, and I think we've sort of internalized this advice. Is I was given it. I was in a writer's room a long time ago as like a writer's PA, and I was like very just insistent, asking all the writers like, how did you get your start, how did you get referenced, and it's always like, oh, I knew someone, or I was in the same yoga studio as so and so, or something like that. But there was one writer named Eli Journet. I think he's working on Fear the Walking Dead now, but he sent me this script that he wrote, and he said, I wrote this script knowing it would never get made, and I would like really recommend you do that, like write something just insane but like very, very you. And I think that's something at least I've listened to, and I think we both like.
Yeah, I did that. I did that this year.
Yeah, you definitely did that this
year.
I
wrote the first couple of months. I wrote a movie script that
will never be made.
Like if you open it on your computer, it explodes. But
do you mean like it's like a fuck it script, or it's a script where it's just absolutely like full of so many things that you couldn't possibly?
That's kind of, I mean, Michael's is the script he's talking about is very absurd and maximalist, but it doesn't even necessarily need to be that. I think it's just something where you need to be very unapologetically you, and put like everything you have into it.
Yeah,
and
or it's like what you like. Like that's the type of thing, that's the type of thing like I love, is like just all these insane disparate parts coming together, truly loathsome protagonists. That type of thing.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
But yeah, I think too.
They're not likable. What?
Yeah, the likable protagonist.
Not
likable.
Not likable. Yeah, I need to hate this guy. The guy's also me. It's like a tall tale about myself.
Spoiler alert.
But yeah, so I think like write something like that. I also think I was thinking about recently too. Speaking of like we talked about this class a lot. The first like pilot we wrote together was like about our experience in like college, and we spent so long on it, so long perfecting and getting it down, and like didn't move on for the longest time. And I think that's the thing we learned is like I think we could have gotten a lot more done like in our like earlier years if we just like
Let it go.
went on to something else, or even to come back on it, but just like go do something else.
So I wrote a script. Maybe I shouldn't use stunt script like you said, but one of those. It was off the advice of that guy. I wrote a script that was very just wacky and very me, called "Asians Can't Play Jazz." Kind of like
I've read that.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
I hope you liked it. You don't
I
have to
did
say.
actually.
It was like an absurd
Jaren gave
comedy.
it. Jaren.
Oh yeah, I
shared
remember
it.
Jaren. Yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I wrote that, and then it won in a competition. They reached out, and I think by that point, actually, I wasn't very happy with it, and I had brought Michael on because I originally pitched it to him, and I don't think he really knew what I was going for, and I didn't know either. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try it.
Yeah.
But I wrote it. ISA reached out after a competition, and they asked that dreaded question of like, where do you see this going? And I've always appreciated like candor, and I'm not good at bullshitting. So I was like, honestly, I don't know. It was just something I wrote. But I have this other script with me and my writing partner. It's an animated children's series that we've been working on developing, and we actually had a pitch deck and everything.
It's very funny to reveal that now that we
Why?
did a children's series.
Why that?
After we talked about like how we like doing like adult comedy.
Oh
so
yeah,
last week,
yeah.
you
That was
know,
it was
I'm
kind of
the
an
same.
outlier. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
the same way.
It's called Elysian Ring.
that got us on the development slate,
Yeah.
and then maybe like a while, like maybe like last August we were applying to stuff when we found it, and I think like last August we got an email saying that the Creative Screenwriting Productions was very interested in it, and they wanted to put it on their slate and start developing it and pitching it. We already had like a pitch deck for it, like a big presentation for it, and so then we started practice pitching, and then now we're getting ready hopefully to pitch it at some point.
Awesome.
And the Asians Can't Play Jazz script, we actually kind of rewrote almost from the ground up.
Yeah.
And now we have like a whole like pitch deck for that. That's like that went from like a stunt script to like one that could actually like
Actually, good idea.
be done.
Thanks to Michael.
Wow.
What's good is it's been a very nurturing but critical environment. I don't think they're afraid to give us notes. But and we noticed it. And don't get me wrong, we appreciate it. It's the the sandwich where it's like start with a nice thing, say all the critical stuff, and then end with like, but you did really good. But it has
Carlos,
been
you were funny here. Michael, you gotta not say anything. Carlos, good ending.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's good. I mean, it's also how many times we've like been able to like run the practice like in front of people and stuff. It's just like no one wants to hear you talk about your own thing for like that many times. You know what I mean? So it's like
over and over, yeah.
just that they're willing, and then they hear it so many times, and they know it so well. It's just like it feels like very like collaborative.
Yeah.
Which is nice outside of us, which is good because you need people that aren't you to understand.
Sometimes
what you're
two
going for.
geniuses isn't enough.
Yeah, sometimes two
Oh
geniuses
my God.
need a little help.
That's the title of this one. Two
Two
G's.
Two geniuses.
I mean, if we're geniuses, would we be on the top 25?
We're
they
two
put-
of 25.
We're 2 of 25 geniuses on the top 25.
What's your favorite word?
Defenestrate, which is
Heard that before.
yeah, to throw it out a window.
Oh,
Never use it, but it's a good word. To
good word to
in your
have.
back pocket.
That's right. Make sure no one knows what you're talking about.
Yeah. Say
Favorite-
it as if everyone knows what it is. Kind
Right.
Of thing.
Favorite word is Carlos.
Oh, love
You're
it.
gonna make me blush on camera.
What is a typo or grammatical error that drives you crazy?
There's one I like to be an asshole about, which is lay and lie.
Mm-hmm.
Transitive and intransitive, where you lie down, but you lay things
Something.
down. Yeah,
Yep.
you lay something down. But I just like to call people out and just be an asshole for it. I don't really care.
I find myself more annoyed by people who get really mad at grammatical errors than they actually, like, grammatical errors don't bother me. Like, I know what you're trying to say. That's the point of language, is to communicate an idea. You communicate your idea.
Yeah.
So that's me. But again, I'm a
Great.
genius.
So this interview is complete. Get out of here. Just kidding. And then just one last fun one. You had
One
one wish
wish.
and you couldn't wish for more wishes.
So that we could live somewhere other than LA, but still work in the biz.
That'd be a good one.
Be a good one.
I'm gonna wish for my family to live forever.
That is a tricky one. You might wanna
But
think
you
about
don't?
Well, I don't know, but they do, and it's either
that. They may resent you for that.
They
could
in
resent
100
me for
years.
It sounds like a punishment.
I know.
hey,
Well,
you know,
maybe not.
if they're mean to me about it, then they deserve that punishment. So
It's like the double-edged.
family
wish.
living forever. That's mine.
All right. Well, thank you both for being here. It's
Yeah.
part of our Emerging Screenwriters interview series.